So you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear it. Behind every Boise State Public Radio podcast is a team working hard to bring you stories that matter. So if you value podcasts like this one, please support them. Hit donate at boisestatepublicradio.org. Thanks.
Happy Friday, it's The Connector from Boise State Public Radio, Idaho Daily News. I'm Troy Oppie. This morning, lawmakers want to change the Idaho Constitution to remove the requirement that all kids get an education. Plus, advocates rally around support for Medicaid expansion in the state. Voters approved it years ago. Lawmakers are trying to repeal it. And the Blaine County Sheriff addresses false rumors of immigration roundups. Those stories and more this morning on The Connector. It's a common refrain in my house. Dad, do we have to go to school? You might be familiar with that particular refrain in your own house. And the answer, of course, is yes, you do. Idaho's Constitution gives lawmakers the power to require that kids get some kind of an education before adulthood. But as our James Dawson reports, some lawmakers this session are trying to change that.
The proposed constitutional amendment from Republican Representative Dale Hawkins would remove the state's ability to enforce mandatory education. Right now, state law requires kids between the ages of 7 and 16 to attend some kind of school, whether it's public, private, or provided at home. Hawkins said this when asked if he believes the state has a responsibility to make sure every child gets educated.
I think the state has an opportunity and the right and the responsibility to provide for the education system that exists.
Constitutional amendments need a 2/3 majority approval from both the House and Senate before appearing on the ballot during the next general election. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Staying in the State House this morning, cuts to Idaho's income tax seem to be on a smooth ride toward the state's Senate. The proposal in the House would drop personal and corporate income tax rates in the state by nearly half a percentage point, down to 5.3%. Retired military vets who continue to work can also get an extra break under the plan, which is expected to cost $253 million. Democrats on the House Revenue and Taxation Committee, though, opposed the bill. That includes House Assistant Minority Leader Steve Birch.
This bill cannot be viewed in isolation. It is part of a broader mosaic, and that doesn't make it clear that it can be justified given other factors.
Those other factors, he says, include money needed to support rural emergency services, schools, and in-home health care. But House Majority Leader Jason Monks says individuals are better suited to spend their money than the state is.
We want the people out there with the money, not the government with the money.
That bill passed out of committee and now goes to the House floor for a vote. Lawmakers are also working on a way to repeal Medicaid expansion in the state. Advocates say the program that provides health care to 85,000 Idahoans should be saved. Julie Luqueta has more.
At a press conference Thursday, director of the advocacy group Reclaim Idaho, Luke Mayville, said the program is popular.
We actually had it directly on the ballot in 2018. 61% of the people, even in a very conservative state, voted in favor of Medicaid expansion.
Assistant Minority Leader Senator James Ruckty added repealing the program would hit sparsely populated areas the hardest.
In a rural state like ours, people end up needing Medicaid at some point in their lives, or they have family members or friends that have needed Medicaid in order to bridge some difficult time in their lives, and people appreciate the program.
Ruckty said OBGYN services in hospitals have already been struggling to recruit doctors.
I'm a little worried that the loss of Medicaid funding would be the death knell for many of our labor and delivery units in rural Idaho.
Medicaid for the state's next fiscal year is expected to cost about $98 million, representing about 10% of the overall cost. The federal government covers the rest. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
A bill introduced in the House State Affairs Committee yesterday would drop people from Idaho's voter rolls if their citizenship status couldn't be confirmed. Sponsor, Republican Representative Jaron Crane, told lawmakers it was a process for the Secretary of State to follow in order to enforce the constitutional amendment banning non-citizens from voting that voters approved in November. The Idaho Capitol Sun reports Secretary of State Phil McGrain says he's planning to introduce his own bill, which he believes is more broad and folds in his office's previous efforts to review voter rolls for potential registration by non-citizens. Registered voters whose citizenship could not be confirmed in other databases like Social Security or Idaho Transportation Department would be sent a letter with a chance to prove their eligibility to vote. Crane's bill was introduced unanimously. It could return for a full hearing later. McGrain has not yet introduced the legislation he referenced in the conversation with the Capitol Sun. Rumors of immigration enforcement sweeps in Blaine County are unsubstantiated fear-mongering. That's according to County Sheriff Morgan Ballis. The sheriff in a news release Thursday said multiple rumors of ICE raids have circulated in the community the last several weeks, including on Wednesday this week. Such enforcement is typically communicated to local law enforcement in advance, Ballis says, and the county was not notified of any action. Blaine County officials confirmed with federal immigration officials that no enforcement actions have taken place in Blaine County in recent days. The sheriff says perpetuating rumors only incites panic and discourages people from seeking help or cooperating with law enforcement. The sheriff's office is committed to protecting the entire community, Ballis said, regardless of anyone's immigration status. The first data on maternal mortality in Idaho since 2021 was released yesterday. It showed a sharp percentage decline in pregnancy mortality and pregnancy-associated mortality 2 years ago. The Idaho Capitol Sun reports the data is based on so few fatalities that even a small number change can swing the percentages dramatically. There were 16 pregnancy-related or associated deaths in 2023 compared to 25 fatalities in 2021. The committee determined that 2 reported cases 2 years ago did not meet the criteria of a maternal fatality, and those were excluded. Idaho lawmakers axed the state's maternal mortality committee 2 years ago by not renewing it. Lawmakers, though, revived it last year, and the committee plans to review data from 2022 in the future. I do want to note a big change in our weather coming through this weekend. Valley rain or rain and snow mixed or some minimal accumulation is possible this weekend in the Treasure and Magic Valleys. Significant mountain snow is expected Friday through Sunday, so take care if your travels take you into the mountains. I know you skiers might be rejoicing a bit at the first notable precipitation for many of our local ski areas in about 3 weeks. Do have a great weekend, whatever your activities might be. Our news director is Sasha Woodruff. Our general manager is Tom Michael. I'm Troy Oppie. And if you listened all the way through to the connector yesterday, which I'm sure you did, you heard me wish you a happy Wednesday. Of course, it wasn't Wednesday yesterday. It was Thursday. Sorry about that. But I guess the good news is I went backwards a day instead of forward. Nobody wants to hear that it's Friday when it's really not. Have a great weekend.